Ryan had always dreamed of exploring the stars. When he was a child on Earth, he would sit on the rooftop of his family's small house and look at the night sky, wondering what it would be like to stand on another world. Years later that dream had come true. He was chosen as a science officer for a deep space research mission. His job was to study planets where alien settlements already existed, and this was the first time he had been sent to live near one. The planet was called Tyrios by the native people. It had wide grass plains, tall crystal-like mountains that shone in the sunlight, and skies that glowed deep teal during the evening. Human explorers had set up a small outpost at the edge of an alien settlement, not to interfere but to learn. Ryan was excited yet nervous, because he had been told that the alien people were proud, careful with outsiders, and followed many traditions. One morning, Ryan went out to gather samples near the river that curved along the alien settlement. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of wild plants, and the water sparkled with a strange silver hue. He walked carefully, not wanting to disturb anything, when he noticed movement among the tall grass. A figure stepped forward, graceful and silent. It was a young alien woman. She was taller than Ryan expected, her posture elegant, her skin faintly tinted with a silver glow under the sunlight. Her most striking feature was her tail, long and sleek, moving with balance as she walked. Her golden eyes studied him with a curious calmness. Ryan felt his heart beat faster. He remembered the warnings from his team: respect their ways, do not touch their people without permission, and never mock their traditions. He nodded politely, trying to remember the basic greeting in her language. "Hello," he said softly, raising his hand. His words came out with an awkward accent, but she tilted her head, listening. The alien woman did not reply at once. She looked at him, then at the samples he carried. Finally, she spoke in clear words that surprised him. "You are human," she said. Ryan smiled nervously. "Yes. My name is Ryan. I mean no harm. I am only here to study plants." The alien woman's golden eyes remained sharp, yet there was no anger in them. She walked closer. Ryan noticed the details of her soft features, her long dark hair braided with silver threads, and the way her tail swayed gently behind her. But just as she neared the river's edge, her foot slipped on a patch of wet stone. She lost her balance, and Ryan reacted without thinking. He reached out to steady her. His hand brushed against her tail as he helped her stand. The moment froze. Ryan's heart sank. He remembered the warnings: never touch the tail. He quickly pulled his hand back, his face burning with shame. "I am sorry," he said at once, his voice hurried. "I did not mean to touch. It was an accident. Forgive me." He expected anger, maybe even a demand for him to leave. Instead, the alien woman looked at him in silence. Her tail moved once, curling lightly, and her golden eyes softened in a way Ryan did not understand. "Do it again," she said quietly. Ryan blinked. He was sure he had heard wrong. "What?" Her expression was calm but serious. "Do it again." Ryan stood frozen, confused. He had studied reports about her people. Their tails were symbols of dignity, of emotion, sometimes of family ties. Touching it without permission was said to be insulting. Yet here she was, asking him to repeat it. "I do not wish to disrespect," Ryan said carefully. "Your people have traditions. I should not." The alien woman stepped closer, her eyes steady on his. "You helped me. No one touches my tail without reason. You did. It means something." Ryan swallowed hard, his thoughts racing. He had not expected his first real meeting with a local to turn into this. He wondered if he should follow her request or step back. But there was something in her eyes, a strange warmth, as if she was testing his courage. Gathering his nerve, Ryan slowly reached out again. His hand lightly brushed against her tail. He expected her to pull away, but instead she stood still, her gaze fixed on him. The tail felt smooth and warm, alive with subtle movements, almost like it carried her emotions. She let him hold it for a moment before gently pulling it back. A faint smile curved her lips. "You are not like the others," she said. Ryan exhaled, relief mixing with confusion. "I am sorry if I have done anything wrong. I only wanted to help." The alien woman shook her head. "You showed trust. That matters. My name is Arya." Ryan repeated her name softly. "Arya. It is good to meet you." For a long while they stood by the river, neither speaking. Ryan felt the tension ease, though his heart still raced. He realized that what had happened was not just a mistake but something important in her culture. He did not fully understand it yet, but Arya's reaction told him it carried meaning. Arya finally stepped back. "The others may not see you the way I do. Be careful, human. This place is full of eyes." Ryan nodded, sensing the weight of her words. She gave him one last look, then turned and walked away, her tail swaying with quiet grace. As she disappeared into the tall grass, Ryan stood alone by the river, holding his breath. He had come for plants and samples, but what he found was far more mysterious. He whispered her name again, as if to remember it. "Arya." That single meeting changed everything. Ryan returned to the human outpost with his samples, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He could not forget the moment her golden eyes had softened, or the surprising words she had spoken. Do it again. He knew he would see her again. And when he did, nothing would be simple anymore. Ryan could not stop thinking about that first meeting with Arya. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her golden gaze and heard the strange words she had spoken to him. Do it again. The phrase echoed in his thoughts like a puzzle without an answer. He tried to tell himself it was only a cultural misunderstanding, but something deep inside told him there was more. The next day, Ryan walked through the settlement with extra caution. His research team had warned him that the locals watched everything. They respected human explorers but never trusted them fully. Ryan felt their eyes on him as he passed. The alien people moved gracefully, their tails swaying like silent signals. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with suspicion. He greeted them politely but avoided doing anything that might be seen as rude. As he moved toward the river again, his mind wandered back to Arya. He wondered if she had told anyone about what happened. If she had, would they be angry with him, or would they treat him differently? He carried a small notebook in his hand, writing notes about plants and stones, but in truth his attention was divided. He was searching for her. He found her standing near a tree with wide silver leaves. She looked at him as if she had been waiting. Her expression was calm, her tail slowly curling and uncurling. You returned, she said. Ryan nodded. Yes. I had questions. But I was not sure if I should come. Arya tilted her head. You are not like most humans. They stay together in the outpost. You walk alone. Ryan gave a small smile. I wanted to understand. Not just the land, but the people who live here. Arya studied him quietly. Then she walked to the river's edge, motioning for him to follow. Ryan obeyed. The water reflected the sky in shifting teal light, and the sound of the current was soft and steady. "You touched my tail," Arya said without turning. "You know what that means?" Ryan hesitated. "I do not think I do. Where I come from, that would only be an accident. I was only helping you." "But you did not seem angry. You said something I cannot stop thinking about." Arya finally turned to him. Her golden eyes glowed faintly under the sunlight. "Among my people, the tail is not only a limb. It is our voice when words fail. It shows our truth. To touch it is to step past our defenses. No outsider has ever been allowed that close. Not even some within our clans. When you touched mine, you crossed into a place of trust." Ryan blinked, his chest tightening. "But I did not earn that. It was only an accident." Arya shook her head slowly. "Intent matters. You reached without harm. You touched without claiming. You helped when I slipped. That is why I told you to do it again. I needed to see if you understood." Ryan struggled for words. "So, when I touched your tail, it was not an insult but something important." "Yes," she replied simply. The river wind brushed past them, carrying the sound of rustling grass. Ryan felt a weight settle on his shoulders. This was no small matter. He realized how easily the situation could have gone wrong. But instead of punishment, Arya had given him trust. "Why me?" Ryan asked softly. "I am only a visitor. I do not belong to your people." Arya looked away, gazing at the horizon. "Because you are different. The humans I have seen hide behind walls of words. They always want something. You gave without asking. That is rare." Her words made Ryan feel both humbled and uncertain. He was not used to being seen so clearly by someone he had just met. He felt a quiet connection forming, though he could not name it. They walked along the riverbank together. Arya pointed out plants, showing which ones her people used for medicine, which for food, and which were dangerous. Ryan wrote notes carefully, listening to every word. He realized that Arya was teaching him things no human book had recorded. She trusted him with knowledge usually kept within her people. At one point, she crouched to pick a small flower with bright blue petals. She held it out to him. "This flower is rare. It blooms only when the season turns. It means listening. Take it." Ryan accepted the flower with care, placing it gently between the pages of his notebook. "Thank you. I will remember this." Arya's tail flicked lightly as if showing approval. "Remembering is not enough. Understanding matters more. My people believe that actions speak louder than words." They sat together under the tree, and Ryan asked questions about her culture. Arya explained that her people used their tails to express emotions the way humans used facial expressions. Anger, joy, sadness, trust each had emotion. She demonstrated, and Ryan watched closely. When she finished, he said quietly, "So when your tail curled when I touched it, that meant trust." Arya nodded. "And risk. Because now others may see me differently." Ryan frowned. "Did I cause trouble for you?" "Not yet," Arya said calmly. "But word spreads fast. Some will ask questions. They will not understand why I let a human near me. You must be careful." Ryan felt guilt rise in him, but also determination. "If I caused harm, I will make it right. Tell me what I must do." Arya studied him for a long moment. "Do nothing for now. Listen. Learn. Let them see who you are. That will speak louder than defense." The day passed with quiet conversation. Ryan learned more about her people than any report had ever told him. He saw how much meaning was hidden in their movements, how much history lay in the land they walked upon. And Arya, in turn, seemed to study him just as carefully. She asked about Earth, about human families, about the stars. Ryan spoke simply, sharing small stories of his childhood, of sitting on rooftops watching constellations. She listened intently, her tail resting still beside her. As the sun began to sink, painting the sky in glowing teal and gold, Arya finally stood. "We will meet again. But not every day. If you come too often, others will notice. Be patient." Ryan rose to his feet, feeling reluctant to leave. "I understand. Thank you for trusting me today." Arya gave him a rare smile, small but real. "You listened. That is the first step." She walked back toward her settlement, her figure blending with the tall grass. Ryan watched her until she disappeared from sight. When he returned to the human outpost, his fellow explorers asked him about the plants he had gathered. He answered politely, showing samples, but his mind was far away. He thought of Arya's words, of the blue flower now pressed in his notebook, and of the way her eyes had softened when she spoke of trust. That night, Ryan sat outside the outpost, looking at the stars above. He realized he had stepped into something larger than science. His presence here was no longer just about collecting samples. It was about understanding, and maybe even about changing the way two worlds saw each other. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The next few days on Tyrios were quiet, but Ryan felt a strange tension in the air. Each time he left the human outpost to walk near the alien settlement, he noticed more eyes following him. The alien people were subtle, but their golden gazes carried weight. Some looked curious, some cautious, and a few with clear disapproval. Ryan could not shake the feeling that whispers followed him wherever he went. Arya had warned him. She told him that word spreads fast. At first, Ryan thought it was only about his presence, but now he realized it was more. The people knew about him and Arya. They knew he had touched her tail. One evening, as Ryan was returning from the river with his notebook and samples, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning, he saw a tall alien male approaching. His tail was stiff, his expression sharp. Behind him, a small group gathered, watching closely. "You are the human," the alien said, his voice deep. Ryan nodded politely. "Yes. My name is Ryan. I mean no harm." The alien narrowed his golden eyes. "You walk with Arya. You touched her tail. That is not for outsiders." Ryan felt his chest tighten. He had expected this moment, but not so soon. "It was an accident," he said carefully. "She slipped, I helped her. I did not mean to disrespect." The alien stepped closer, his posture towering. His voice carried for the crowd to hear. "Accident or not, it was done. Arya allowed it. That means she accepts you. If she accepts you, then you must prove you are worthy." The small crowd murmured. Ryan's palms grew sweaty. He did not want conflict, but he understood that walking away would only make things worse. He forced himself to stay calm. "What do you mean by prove?" Ryan asked. The alien's tail flicked like a whip. "A challenge. You face me before the eyes of our people. If you are weak, you will be shamed. If you are strong, perhaps you will be accepted. Otherwise, stay away from her." Ryan's heart raced. He had no training in their combat, no strength to match them. Fighting was not an option. but refusing would insult Arya, and possibly even put her at risk. He thought quickly, trying to find a path between. "What kind of challenge?" Ryan asked. The alien smirked. "Any challenge. Strength, speed, or wit. Choose, human." Ryan took a breath. He remembered Arya's words. Actions speak louder than words. He could not beat them in strength or speed. But wit was human territory. He decided quickly. "I choose wit," Ryan said. The alien's eyes narrowed, but the crowd grew louder. Some looked surprised, others amused. The alien crossed his arms. "Very well. We test your mind. If you fail, you will leave Arya." Ryan swallowed but nodded. He had no other path. The next day, the challenge was set in the center of the settlement. The open ground was filled with people. Ryan stood alone, feeling the weight of every gaze. Arya was there too, her face calm but her tail tense. She met his eyes for a brief moment, and in that silent glance, Ryan felt strength. The challenger stepped forward. His name was Kale, a respected warrior of the clan. He spoke loudly so all could hear. "This human claims trust with Arya. He touched her tail and says it meant nothing. I say he must prove himself. Today we test his mind." The crowd cheered in agreement. Ryan clenched his fists, forcing himself to stay steady. Kale began. "Our people measure wit with riddles. You answer mine. If you cannot, you fail." Ryan nodded, ready. Kale's golden eyes gleamed. "First riddle. I am always moving but have no legs. I have no mouth yet I speak. What am I?" Ryan thought quickly. Always moving, no legs, no mouth but speaks. He remembered the river's sound, the flowing current. "Water," he answered. The crowd stirred. Kale's eyes narrowed, but he moved to the next. Second riddle. I am born in the dark, I live when the light touches me, but I die if the light stays too long. What am I? Ryan frowned. Born in dark, lives when light touches, but dies if too long. He pictured plants growing under the sun, but no, that did not fit. Then he thought of shadows. Yes. A shadow, Ryan answered. The crowd gasped, some nodding with respect. Arya's eyes softened, her tail curling faintly. Kale's voice grew sharper. Final riddle. If you fail, you lose. I speak without sound, I travel without wings, I am carried by all yet owned by none. What am I? Ryan closed his eyes, focusing. Speak without sound, travel without wings, carried by all yet owned by none. He thought of whispers, of messages, of wind. The answer came to him. The wind, he said firmly. The crowd erupted in noise. Some shouted approval, others muttered disbelief. Kale's expression darkened. He had expected the human to fail, but Ryan had answered all three. Ryan lifted his head, speaking loudly for all to hear. I do not seek to replace your ways. I do not seek to take what is not mine. I only wish to learn and to understand. If my answers show anything, it is that humans can listen. That is all I want. For a long moment, silence filled the air. Then an elder stepped forward, her tail moving in slow approval. The human has answered. Wit is strength too. He may stand. The crowd broke into murmurs again, this time with less hostility. Kale's jaw tightened, but he stepped back, defeated by rules he could not break. Arya moved forward, her golden eyes meeting Ryan's. Her voice was quiet but firm. You chose wit. You listened. You proved something today. Ryan let out the breath he had been holding. Relief washed over him, though his body still trembled from the pressure. He gave her a small smile. I only did what I could. Arya's tail flicked softly, a sign of trust. That was enough. As the crowd dispersed, Ryan realized something important. He had not only defended himself, but also shown that humans could be more than outsiders. He had taken the first step into their respect. That night, as he walked back to the outpost, the stars above seemed brighter. He knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of greater trials. But for now, he carried a small victory. And when he thought of Arya's words, he felt stronger. The days after the challenge felt different. Ryan noticed that when he walked through the alien settlement, the stares were not as sharp as before. Some still looked at him with caution, but others now gave him small nods, a quiet sign of respect. He had answered Kale's riddles, and that mattered. He had not defeated the warrior with strength but with thought, and the people understood that. Still, Ryan knew respect could be fragile. One mistake, and it could vanish. He moved carefully, speaking politely, listening more than he spoke. He followed Arya's advice, letting actions carry meaning. Every time he saw her, he felt both relieved and nervous. She seemed calm as always, but he sensed that she carried weight on her shoulders too. One afternoon, Arya asked him to follow her away from the settlement. She led him along a narrow path that climbed up into the hills. The air grew cooler, and the grass gave way to sharp rocks that sparkled with hidden colors. Ryan walked behind her, his notebook in his pocket, his thoughts racing. "Where are we going?" he asked after a while. "You will see," Arya replied. Her tone carried mystery, but no hostility. They climbed until they reached a cliff that overlooked the wide plains below. The view was breathtaking. The river shone like silver threads, the forests spread like green waves, and the distant mountains looked like crystal towers under the sky. Arya walked to the edge of the cliff and knelt. Ryan joined her, careful not to step too close. She touched the stone with her hand as if greeting it. Then she looked at him. "This is a sacred place," she said. "Our people come here when we need to remember who we are. The stars above align here in certain seasons, forming the pattern of our ancestors. Few outsiders are shown this place. But I chose to bring you." Ryan felt the weight of her words. He looked around with new respect, understanding that he was being trusted with something rare. "Thank you for bringing me. I will not forget this." Arya's golden eyes softened. "You proved yourself before my people. But I wanted to see if you could sit in silence too. Some humans always fill the air with words. Can you listen to what is not spoken?" Ryan nodded, settling down beside her. They both sat quietly, listening to the wind as it moved across the rocks. The silence was not empty. It carried meaning. Ryan realized that this was part of her test, just as much as the riddles had been. After a long while, Arya spoke again. "You still wonder about the tale?" Ryan looked at her, caught off guard. "Yes. I think about it often. Why you told me to do it again. Why it mattered so much." Arya's gaze turned distant. "Our tales are not only symbols of balance. They hold memory. The way they move shows the truth our voices hide. When you touched mine, you crossed into a space of honesty. That is why I let you. Not because of accident, but because of meaning." Ryan lowered his head. "And if others still doubt, it puts you in danger." Arya did not deny it. She kept her eyes on the horizon. Yes. But I chose that risk. Because I wanted to see if you could carry it. Her words sank into him. He realized this was more than curiosity. It was a bond forming between them, fragile but real. He thought carefully before speaking. I will not let you regret it, Ryan said firmly. If trust is what you gave me, then trust is what I will keep safe. Arya's tail curled softly, a silent answer. For the first time, she allowed it to rest lightly against his hand without asking. Ryan froze, not out of fear but out of respect. He understood that this was no accident. This was her choice. The two of them stayed on the cliff until the sun dipped low, painting the sky with gold and teal. Ryan asked questions about her ancestors, and Arya spoke of stories carved in stone, of songs sung without instruments, of battles fought long before humans reached the stars. She spoke of her people's pride and sorrow, and Ryan listened with full attention. When it was his turn, she asked about Earth again. This time, Ryan told her about his mother's garden, where flowers bloomed in bright colors during spring. He described how his father once built him a kite, and how he had run across fields chasing the wind. Arya listened, her golden eyes calm, her tail swaying gently. Your world is different from ours, she said. But some things are the same. The way you speak of family, the way you speak of memory. That is not foreign to me. Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe our worlds are not as far apart as they seem. Night fell slowly, and stars appeared one by one. Arya pointed toward the sky. There. Do you see that pattern of 3 stars? That is the mark of our guardians. We believe they watch over us. Ryan tilted his head, then smiled. On Earth, we call it Orion's belt. We also see guardians in those stars. For a moment, they both looked at the sky together, sharing the same pattern through different stories. The bond grew stronger, quiet, and unspoken. Finally, Arya stood. We must go back. If we stay too long, questions will rise. Ryan rose as well, but before they left, he placed his hand on the stone of the cliff, mirroring her earlier gesture. I will remember this place. Not just with my eyes, but with my heart. Arya gave a small nod, approval in her gaze. Then they walked back down the path, side by side. In the following days, Ryan noticed changes. When he passed through the settlement, some of the younger aliens greeted him with cautious respect. An elder once nodded at him without words. Kale still watched him with suspicion, but he no longer spoke against him. It seemed that Ryan's actions were beginning to shift how they saw him. One evening, Arya approached him near the river. She carried a small carved stone in her hand. She held it out to him. This is a token of bond, she said. Not marriage, not claim. But a sign of trust between two people. Few outsiders have ever been given one. Take it. Ryan accepted the stone with both hands, treating it as something priceless. It was smooth, marked with a pattern of stars carved into its surface. He felt the weight of her trust more strongly than ever. Thank you, he said softly. I will carry this always. Arya's tail flicked once, calm and steady. Then our bond is set. That night, Ryan placed the carved stone beside the blue flower in his notebook. 2 symbols, one from her world and one from his journey, side by side. He stared at them for a long time, knowing that these were not just objects. They were pieces of a bridge between 2 worlds. As he closed his notebook, he realized that what began as an accident by the river had turned into something far greater. He and Arya were no longer just strangers from different worlds. They were connected by trust, by stories, and by choices. And deep inside, Ryan felt that their bond was only the beginning of something larger. The mission on Tyrios was nearing its end. Ryan's team had collected enough samples of plants, minerals, and water to keep scientists on Earth busy for years. The human outpost was preparing to leave. Cargo containers were being sealed, and the communication tower was buzzing with messages to the fleet waiting in orbit. Ryan should have felt satisfied. He had done his duty. Yet as he looked at the outpost, all he felt was a heavy pull inside him. His thoughts were not on the mission anymore. They were on Arya. Each meeting with her had changed him. From the first accidental touch of her tail, to the riddles that tested him, to the sacred cliff where she shared the stars, he had grown into something more than an explorer. He had formed a bond that felt real, powerful, and impossible to ignore. But now he faced a choice. If he left with the others, he might never see her again. The people of Tyrios were cautious. Outsiders rarely returned, and trust was not easily rebuilt once broken by distance. If he stayed, he would be stepping away from his old life, from Earth, from the safety of his kind. Ryan could not decide alone. He needed to speak to her. That evening, he walked to the river. The sky glowed in teal and gold as the sun sank behind the crystal mountains. He stood waiting, his heart restless. Soon, Arya appeared from the tall grass. She moved with the same quiet grace as always, her golden eyes steady as they met his. "You seem troubled," she said. Ryan gave a small nod. "The mission is ending. The humans will leave soon. I must choose if I go with them." Arya's tail moved slowly, a calm but serious motion. "And you are unsure?" "Yes," Ryan admitted. "Part of me belongs with my people. But part of me feels tied to this place. To you." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the sound of water flowing. Ryan felt the weight of his words. He had never spoken so openly before, but he could not hide the truth anymore. Arya walked closer. "Leaving will be easier. Staying will be harder. My people do not welcome outsiders easily. Even now, many watch you with doubt. If you choose to remain, you will walk a difficult path." "I know," Ryan said. "But when I think of leaving, it feels like I would be leaving something more important than home. I would be leaving trust. I would be leaving the bond we built." Arya studied him for a long time, her eyes unreadable. Then she reached into the small pouch at her side and drew out a piece of cloth. Wrapped inside was another carved stone, larger than the first she had given him. The patterns on it were more complex, forming a circle of stars. "This is the stone of path," she explained. "When given, it means the one who receives must choose their road. It is not a promise of safety. It is a promise of burden. I give this to you now." Ryan accepted the stone with both hands, feeling its weight. "And if I take it, what does it mean?" Arya's voice was calm. "It means you are part of this world. Not as one of us, but as yourself. You carry your difference with honor. If you leave it behind, then the bond ends. If you keep it, then your choice is made." Ryan looked down at the stone, then back at her. "And what do you want me to do?" Arya's tail curled softly, her golden eyes glowing in the fading light. "What I want does not matter. What matters is what you are willing to carry." Ryan's chest tightened. He thought of Earth, of his family, of the life waiting for him if he returned. Then he thought of Arya, of the sacred cliff, of the quiet trust in her gaze. he realized that this choice was not about where he came from, but about who he had become. Slowly, Ryan closed his fingers around the stone. "I will stay." Arya's eyes softened, but she did not smile. Instead, she gave a single nod of acceptance. "Then your path is here. It will not be easy, but it will be real." That night, Ryan went back to the outpost. His team was surprised when he told them his decision. Some argued, some tried to persuade him, but he was firm. He gave them his research, his notes, and even his personal belongings. All he kept was the notebook with the blue flower, the first carved stone of trust, and now the stone of path. When the human ship left orbit days later, Ryan stood with Arya on the plains, watching the sky as the streak of light faded into the stars. For the first time, he did not feel left behind. He felt chosen. In the weeks that followed, life changed. At first, many of Arya's people kept their distance. They whispered about the human who stayed. Some disapproved, others watched with curiosity. Ryan did not fight their judgment. He greeted them respectfully, helped where he could, and listened more than he spoke. Slowly, walls began to soften. A child once ran up to him, laughing, and asked him to tell a story about Earth. Ryan told them about the kite his father made, and the child's tail flicked with joy. An elder once asked him to explain human farming methods, and she nodded thoughtfully at his answers. Arya remained beside him, steady and calm. She did not shield him from the challenges, but she guided him with quiet advice. She taught him the subtle meanings of tail movements, the songs sung in the evening, the prayers whispered to the stars. Ryan, in return, taught her about human maps, about simple machines, about the way humans used memory to build futures. One evening, as they walked together along the river where it all began, Ryan stopped. He looked at her, remembering the first day, the moment he had touched her tail by accident. The shame he had felt, the surprise of her words. "Do it again." He smiled faintly. "Arya, may I ask one more question?" She turned, her golden eyes calm. "Ask." Ryan took a breath. "That day, when I apologized, you told me to do it again. Why?" Arya's tail moved slowly, curling like a question answered. "Because I wanted to see if you would be afraid. Many touch by accident, then retreat in fear. You did not. You reached again, not with pride, but with care. That is why I trusted you." Ryan felt his chest warm. He nodded. "Then I am glad I listened." Arya stepped closer, her tail brushing lightly against his hand. "Do it again," she said softly. Ryan placed his hand gently on her tail, not as an accident this time, but as a choice. And in that moment, he understood fully. It was never only about a gesture. It was about trust, respect, and the bond that had grown between them. A bond that could bridge two worlds. The river flowed beside them, the stars rose above them, and the bond they shared became their answer to the universe. Ryan had chosen his path, and he knew it was the right one.